Hi, my name is Blake Misek, and the article that I investigated about was Kentucky football and what has gone wrong so far this season. So, for part one, just a little bit diving into it, I chose an article from the Lexington Herald talking about the problems that the Kentucky football team has faced this season. This article was written sometime between last night and this morning, just as the season has begun to tailspin a little bit out from underneath the Wildcats. I grew up a huge football fan, and as I'm a student here, I am heavily involved and actively keeping up with our football team week in and week out. Clearly, I'm biased as I go to or watch every single game and even know some people within the football program. And I fully agree with the author as our offense has not been good whatsoever. There needs to be accountability for both coaches and players, and we really need to find a way to win some of these last games in order to go to a bowl game. For part two of this assignment, it's to review the article using the CRAP test. To understand the CRAP test, I used the source from the Kentucky Library. The first letter C, which stands for currency. This article was published after Kentucky's 48-20 loss to Florida last night, making it extremely current and relevant for discussing the ongoing season. All the statistics and analysis provided reflect the team's current standing in college football, with specific rankings and figures from the 2024 season. The timing of the article allows for an in-depth reflection on the recent game while highlighting the long-term trends that have led to Kentucky's struggles under Mark Stoops. The currency of the article is essential for readers who are following the team's performance and are looking for immediate insights into the program's difficulties. Example from the article, the author Clay cites fresh data such as Kentucky's offensive ranking, which is 115th out of 134 FBS teams in scoring, and 127th in plays of 30 or more yards, was only 7 all season. After determining currency, we go on to relevance. This article is highly relevant to anyone researching the current state of the Kentucky football program, specifically in relation to Mark Stoops' coaching decisions and the team's offensive struggles. An example from this article, Clay mentioned 5 offensive coordinators in the last 5 seasons, so there's been a lot of turnover. His statement directly says, and you wonder why Kentucky's the only team in the SEC that has yet to score more than 20 points in a conference game this season, which I agree is pretty unacceptable. The next aspect is accuracy. This article's accuracy is supported by factual evidence, specifically using the stats about Kentucky's offensive performance. These stats are found on the NCAA and ESPN databases, so very, very accurate. Like I said earlier, we rank 115th total offense at under 320 yards per game, and with the lack of explosive plays, it's just been bad. Next part's the authority. The article is authored by John Clay, who has been covering Kentucky sports for a long time. So he's got the respect. He knows. He's seen a lot of football. So he's able to be a trustworthy source. Obviously, dating back to 2020, mentioning all the offensive coordinators in the article, that's a big part of it. And then the purpose of the article is to inform and critique. We're trying to dig deeper into why this offense isn't working. And Clay is a fan just like us, and he addresses the fans' perspective when he writes, "Forgive Big Blue Nation for wondering the same thing about its football program." So that's the crap test. Next, we will move on to the biases part. In analyzing the article, several biases can be identified. The first one is selection or sampling bias. This bias occurs when the writer chooses specific data points, perspectives, or examples that may not fully represent the complete picture of the situation and being discussed. In the article, the writer focuses heavily on the Kentucky football offensive struggles and the turnover of offensive coordinators, providing a narrow view on the team's overall performance. The statistical analysis paints a grim picture of Kentucky's offense, but the selection of specific statistics, such as the ranking and scoring offense and passing efficiency, creates a narrative that the team is in a particularly dire situation. The next is reporting bias. Reporting bias is another prominent bias evident as it is selectively emphasizes certain aspects of the story while downplaying or omitting others. So as a reporter, he can choose what he talks about and what he doesn't want to talk about. While it's a valid perspective, the article fails to mention other critical elements that could influence the team's performance. And the last one that's not explicitly present is confirmation bias. It could easily be incorporated to further influence its content. It occurs when the writer seeks out information that confirms the pre-existing beliefs or expectations while ignoring or dismissing evidence that contradicts those beliefs. In this case, if the writer had a preconceived notion that Stoops' leadership and offensive instability were the primary reasons for Kentucky's struggles, they might focus on examples and data that support this belief while disregarding other potential causes. Part 4, it's all about propaganda. That's what I went with. In analyzing the article about Kentucky football's challenges under Stoops, it's become clear that the content exhibits characters of propaganda aiming at shaping public opinion, both on team performance and the staff's decisions. Some of the goals could be arguing Coach Stoops' position, both as the head coach and his methods of coaching. This is used with different techniques to sway the public opinion. Card stacking is evident in the selective presentation of statistics that focus solely on negative aspects of the team's performance, such as, like I said earlier, the offensive rankings. Another technique at play is loaded language, where terms associated with failure and disappointment are used to describe Coach Stoops' decisions. In summary, this article analyzes Kentucky's football challenges and exemplifies the use of propaganda and media through techniques such as card stacking and loaded language. It shapes the public opinion about the coaching staff as a whole and Mark Stoops specifically. So yeah, that's basically what I've gathered about this article of Kentucky football. Here are the different sources that I used. Hopefully we can turn it around and have a good quality ending to the season. Go Cats.